Hey there everybody, this is your host Sam here from the Samuel Plays Brass channel, coming at you with probably the most aggressively colored outfit I've worn all summer and about 25% of a beard. So what brings me here in this state? Today I'm going to talk to you about a few things. Hey, future me here, currently editing this video. Skip to this timestamp if you want to get to the good news about what's next, because this video goes on for a while. Something I don't often do on this channel is speak my mind or my heart to you all, the audience, in a candid and off-the-cuff sort of fashion about such matters as my personal life or the choices I make and my motivations behind them, or where that puts me in terms of the content creator sphere, or in other words, the sense of me that you know, unless you happen to know me in person. And, you know, over the history of my channel, there have been long periods of silence, there have been long periods of stagnation with just the same content over and over again. During early quarantine, the channel went ages without hearing a word spoken in my voice or seeing any amount of my personality. It was just me playing, you know, video after video. And so I wanted to talk about a few things because I feel as though I've got something meaningful to talk about now, and I've built enough of an audience that I feel like I shouldn't bait you with expectations. In any case, by definition, this is a weird sort of thing, isn't it? I'm a 20-year-old engineering student who's about to head into his third year of a degree over at the local university, and so it's kind of interesting in that sense that I'm here sitting in front of a camera making videos about music. But in any case, that's what I do, and it's what I really enjoy doing, and there are a few things coming up that I wanted to address. Most serious and experienced YouTubers, as you might know, will operate on a backlog system of content. Take a daily vlogger, for instance. They might use the word today liberally in their vlogs. Oh, today we are going to such and such place or doing such and such activity. Today this, today that. Chances are very, very good that that video was not recorded today as you were seeing it, nor even maybe the previous day, but perhaps a week or two prior with several other videos lined up to upload in the time that it takes to edit and produce another well-made video. And that's a healthy way to create content because it keeps the stress out of making videos. You have a little bit of buffer time in between filming and uploading. There have been times where I've had to essentially do the whole process in a very short span of time, perhaps even upload the same day as I filmed or edited or something of that nature, and it's not usually very fun. That got to be the case for a couple of the timelier videos on my channel, and it's definitely not something that is sustainable in the long term. And so I personally also operate on a backlog system of content. In any case, the videos you are seeing are typically not uploaded straight after filming, although this one probably will be because it's low budget, it's just me talking, and I wanted to provide this update in as timely of a fashion as possible. But in any case, my backlog is a little bit out of hand. You'll notice a lot of big YouTubers upload on the very last day of the month, and that's because they have brand deals to meet, and they've signed contracts with companies saying, I will upload by the end of this month, and so at the end of the month they rush out another commentary video. I'm definitely not, you know, hinting at anybody in particular, a particular YouTuber who I listen to a lot who has admitted this openly. But in any case, without that kind of, we'll say, a stick behind the carrot, I don't always operate in the best sense when it comes to actually uploading the content I create. First of all, I love creating content and I create an awful lot of it. The trouble is my backlog is essentially a fridge full of stale food because we've got videos from, you know, just fairly recently, we've got videos from a few months ago, and we've got videos from a year ago. And the trouble is, the further you look, the more you realize there are not only, you know, a whole bunch of stale dishes in the fridge, there are also, you know, raw ingredients that haven't quite been combined yet. If for whatever reason you were looking for any proof of any undiagnosed neurodivergencies in a particular individual, here would be a good place to start. Let's start with the number of video ideas I have. Let's now take the amount of videos I've begun working on, at least. Let's take the amount of videos I've completed recording. Let's take the amount of videos I've begun editing. Let's now take the amount of videos I've completed editing and are ready to upload. So you see the problem. Being the type of person who listens to a lot of music and is frequently inspired by it, my list of ideas for multi-tracks and such things stretches essentially to the moon and back. And there's no way I'll ever have the time nor the motivation to complete all of that. And being an employee at Clearwater Music, a repair shop that also sells a lot of really cool instruments, the amount of instruments I want to review on the channel and talk about also stretch essentially to the moon and back. And while I do have a lot of motivation to record instrument reviews right now, and I have a lot that are recorded at least partially, it is tough to find the time for that sort of thing, because when you're at a job on the clock, you can't just dink around as you like, you have certain responsibilities on the job. I do come in about an hour early to the shop for most of my shifts, just so I have some time to practice on or review a particular instrument for you, but you can only do that to a certain extent. I'm not about to show up at 5 a.m. and set out 5 different instruments to review and try and have that done before my shift starts. That's not healthy. And so I do what I can, but what ends up happening is I have a whole lot of playing videos that I've, recorded demonstrations of a certain instrument, but I need to record the talking portions, and my motivation for that is a lot iffier. But keep in mind that as a content creator, one of the most important things to me is to be able to use my voice to provide my feedback and feelings on certain instruments and whatnot, and I think it's part of the beauty of instrument reviews is that I'm able to vocalize my feelings and hopefully share them with an audience that cares a little bit more than the average sane person. And so I do want to record these speaking parts, but it takes a while, and then, there's the task of editing the video and actually getting it to a state where it's ready to upload. And so you see how this backlog starts to get a little bit out of hand and how I start to look a little bit harebrained in the process. And unfortunately, that is not where it ends. And it's at this point that we arrive at the dreaded hot button M word of the day, motivation. Now, motivation is an interesting critter, is it not? Because no matter the field you work in or do anything in, really, your motivation for that task can vary wildly from day to day. There will be days you wake up and you want to do nothing but what you love all day, ceaselessly, tirelessly. And there are also days where you would rather sit in a dark closet and curl up into a ball and contemplate every decision you've ever made in your life rather than do what you love, even if it is what you love. This happens to the worst of us, and this happens to the best of us, in school, in work, and in content creation. Now, as a content creator on a fairly small scale, what does that look like for me? Well, I mentioned that there are videos in my backlog that are close to or sometimes over a year old. And nowadays, this is evidenced by the presence of my parents' sound panels back on the basement wall. Coming up this August, I'll have lived on my own for 1 year, which is crazy to think about. Where does all the time go? But in any case, if you see videos with the sound panels up in the background, that means they were recorded quite a while ago. I have not recorded a video there since last July. And so it's a constant struggle, as I've got these old videos that, in a sense, almost don't feel like they're a representation of the person or content creator I am today. And even though they're only a year old in the grand scheme of 20 years of life, a year can make a lot of difference at the age of, especially when I started the channel, there's a huge difference between being 14 and 15 years old, or even now, between being 19 and 20 years old. If you're not the type of person who has their entire life figured out and knows exactly who they are and who they want to be and what exactly they want to create on YouTube, videos from a year old can feel really alienating in a weird way. And so I have these videos that don't feel representative of the type of content that I want to make, that are this close to completed, and yet I cannot find the motivation to complete that last little part so that I can actually upload the video and get it over with. I have enough content to be uploading much more often than I do, and yet I still go 5, 6, 7 days sometimes without uploading anything, and that's just because I have all these videos this close to being uploaded that I just can't seem to finish off. And so there's a constant tug of war between that and the newer videos, which do represent who I am currently as a person a little bit better, and they are definitely more the type of content that I'm enjoying creating nowadays. But the trouble with them is I don't want to edit them, and I don't have the motivation to do so until I take care of the old stuff. So this game of tug of war doesn't really have a clean ending to it. It just kind of keeps going. And I say all of this not to make the situation sound dismal, but to provide some necessary context for quite the opposite. Now, more so than ever before in the channel's history, is a really exciting period for opportunity and potential and growth in new and unprecedented ways, whether that's just improving on old forms of content in ways that are bigger and better each time, or exploring new forms of content or modes of creation, or exploring my brand identity further and solidifying the Samuel Plays Brass mission statement, if you will, to make sure that it really encompasses everything I do here on the channel clearly. And there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up. We're on the precipice of something big here. For instance, just in the short term, we have the calendar month of August almost upon us. That will mark a year of me having lived in this particular residence. And I've designated the month of August to be Scholastic Brass Month on the channel, in which I will review and discuss instruments such as... Sorry about that. Instruments such as these and many, many more. During the month of August, on a fairly frequent basis, considering how many of these I've recorded and still intend to record, we're going to be talking about student brass and hopefully providing a little bit more education value on the channel. I really want to use my channel and whatever limited influence I have in the brass community to hopefully foster and cultivate a new generation of brass players, and if that means, just before school starts, talking about a whole bunch of student instruments and trying to help parents or aspiring brass students towards their first rental or their first purchase and trying to find the right instrument for the job, then so be it. That is what I want to do, and that is how I want to make an impact in the brass community. I don't just want to sit here playing orchestral excerpts and Arban duets all day. That's not any longer what I'm here to do. And so we have such exciting things as this coming up, and I hope you'll bear with me during the growing pains of the channel, as we'll sort of have different Sams running around the place in a more literal sense than just the multi-tracks with many of me on screen. We're going to have, half-bearded Sam talking about student models, and then we're also going to have, a much more youthful Sam from last summer playing ARBA duets in his parents' basement with friends, and that is just kind of where we're at in the channel. Like I said, it's sort of a growing pain period where there is so much to do and so much that lies ahead, but in any case, we still have to flush out some of the old to make room for the new. Just on the topic of instrument reviews alone, we've got a lot of exciting stuff beyond the student model instruments, whether it's new and exciting things or old and exciting things. As far as educational value on the channel goes, I've got, again, near infinite ideas for videos in the Let's Talk Trumpet style, which is not something I've done as much of, but I really do want to use any educational influence I could possibly have for good on this channel to really help people reach the level of brass playing that they're a little bit more satisfied with and that allows them to enjoy their craft more, because ultimately that's what it was about for me in the beginning. That's what I want it to be about now. And while I don't frequently have access to my parents' basement, certainly don't intend to record videos down there, I do intend to keep the multi-tracks and duet sort of style thing going in some capacity. I'll admit I've been a little bit burned out by it, and that's part of the reason why I have trouble editing these remaining ones, is just because they're these stupid little low production quality multi-tracks, but I really hope to do them maybe if more sparsely than with higher production value and with more adventurous decisions being made, longer pieces, more instruments, more types of instruments such as percussion added to the mix, because it really is a rewarding process when you're enjoying what it is that you're doing. That's just the main thing, is enjoying it, which means doing it fairly sparsely but with a little bit more effort put into them. And while I did get pretty burned out doing things like Instagram collabs with everybody who reached out and all sorts of ARBA duets and stuff, I do want to continue exploring collaborative content in this sort of sphere in hopefully new and exciting ways. I hope to collaborate with people who are influential in the brass sphere and music sphere in general and mean a lot to me as musicians and people and content creators. I want to, work with friends who have some level of influence in the music scene, not just so we can cross-pollinate, but so that we can both, or all in some cases, create the project that is most meaningful to us, and that creates the product that is most meaningful to you as the audience. As far as concrete examples and specifics go, I hit 15K simultaneously on Instagram and TikTok, you can follow me on those there, quite a while ago, and the impetus for doing so was that the audience would receive a full-length Q&A here on YouTube featuring 15 questions from the two platforms. I haven't gotten around to that yet, have I? And I'm thinking I have no option but to do it while I'm half-bearded before the motivation runs out. I've also been receiving requests in much larger volumes than usual to do a video showcasing my entire brass collection. And while that would be quite the operation and a rather daring expose of my, problem, it would make for a very nice and informative video, and it would bring everybody up to speed on the equipment that I own and use. I would like to do a subset video of that, of the equipment that I not only own but get frequent use out of, and that would be sort of an update to the Let's Talk Trumpet FAQ that plays if you're not subscribed and you go to my channel. It's the first video that pops up, and it's the sort of channel introduction in a sense. I really want to modernize that because it's been close to 5 years and a lot of things have changed about my equipment that I use on a fairly frequent basis. And in any case, maybe it would help to slow the stem of people asking constantly what horn and mouthpiece I use. And so as a final parting word, I want to mention that I am very much open to any ideas you might have and could possibly let me know of in the comments. Not for any lack of ideas, because as I've mentioned, my ideas stretch across galaxies practically at this point. It's just that there are, in fact, too many ideas to work with in a reasonable mortal lifespan, or certainly the lifespan of YouTube, which nobody knows at this point. And so I'd like to sort of narrow that down to the things that the audience wants to see, because there are a lot of things that I want to do equally, but I would like to know which the audience likes particularly. So with that, once you've kindly done and left me some feedback on videos you'd like to see in the future in the comments section, I will part ways with you for now. This has been a very long and rambly update video, so if you've stuck around this whole time, thank you so much. Consider subscribing if you have not already, because many of my usual viewers have not done so, and it's a small gesture with a huge impact on the channel. It ensures that you see content like this as it's being pumped out, and it gives me the motivation to keep pumping out the same type of content, if that is what you enjoy, in fact. So, thank you so much for listening today. This has been Samuel Plays Brass with a very long-winded channel update, and until next time, we'll see you on the flip side. Stay tuned. Oh yeah, this is easy. I could totally do this.